Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin. Sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing the nation's best athletic training equipment since 1932. And R4 Football Systems. Accelerate everything by decoding the game.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton, and we got a guest speaker back who you may have heard of a couple times, Coach Dub Maddox. I'll let Jamie get into that. Before we get going, I want to shout out to our sponsors, Team Builder and Tsunami Bar Sports.
Yeah, guys, today we're bringing back one of the most influential teachers in modern football, Coach Dub Maddox. He's the creator of R4 Football Systems, a national leader in offensive teaching and cognitive quarterback development, and a coach whose work has impacted programs at every level. And for us, this conversation hits close to home because we're not just supporters of R4, we're partners. And we've personally used this system since 2018 to shape how we teach quarterbacks, structure our passing game, and build our offensive identity. Today, Dub is here to unveil the newest R4 iteration, a suite of tools that may be his biggest leap forward yet. And we're diving into what's new and why it matters and how coaches can plug it into their programs immediately. Coach Dub Maddox is back. Let's get into it. Coach, welcome to the program.
Jamie, Dustin, thanks for having me on, man. Let's get after it.
All right, Coach. So how has this football season been for you, and what have you learned?
Yeah, well, for me, it was unique. It was my first season in 25 years of not being on the sideline. So I kind of took a year off and did a reset. I got two young boys, 6 and 4, and wanted to really kind of unpack 25 years of experience and methods and just things that I've tried. And I needed a year just to kind of work on some things and streamline. And I needed a year to catch my breath and just spend time with my family. And so it was a absolutely rewarding experience. I recommend any coach, like at some point, especially when you have a young family, to do that. I'm recharged and excited for this off season and to see what the future holds.
That's awesome, man. So talking about offensive innovation, you got some new stuff out, but what's maybe one of the biggest problems that you've seen, kind of looking at this football season that you feel like your tools can start to solve a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I'll start just with my personal reflection that I had during this season and kind of looking back at prior years and just how things play out, how your installation process is, how your game plan process, and really with the fine tooth comb go through all those procedures and, am asking myself, is this the best way to do things? Is there a better way? And I think one of the things that I kind of mistakes I made as I got later in my career, I feel like a lot of times I was a better coach when I was younger than when I was older in the last 3 or 4 years. And what I mean by that is in kind of a book that I'm going to introduce here that I read, kind of led me onto this, was when we're younger, we only know a certain amount of information. It's a small piece of information. So I was a younger coach, at the school we were at, we were a no huddle, tempo team, throwing the ball around everywhere. It was right when the no huddle offense was becoming kind of in craze in the early 2000s. And I just had a few route trees, I just had to teach stance and start, fundamentals of blocking. And so I didn't have a deep breadth of knowledge of scheme, and I didn't need to know pass protections and defensive coverages and blitzes. And so I was really able to really dial in on those little fundamentals and become really good at teaching those concepts. And I felt like I got across to my players better because they weren't too far behind my knowledge base. But as I got older and I started learning more about football and, got bored with those little boring fundamentals and double hitches, slant mirrored routes and things like that, and got into the fun stuff, right? Those breadth of expansive concepts and all those things, I kind of lost the ability to teach those little things well. And I kind of get to a point, I think as coaches, we kind of forget every year we're really starting over. And so one of the things that I found myself doing as I got later in my career is, say I have a quarterback that would start as a sophomore, play junior, senior. I'd get a new batch of quarterbacks in or start with another one. Anytime I started with a new quarterback, I would just assume he remembered all those things I taught the previous one, right? He would just soak those up through osmosis. And I wouldn't want to go over those basic fundamentals and principles of the passing game and drops and all the technical boring things that you get tired of coaching year in, year out. And so what happened is there was a huge gap between my knowledge, becoming, 20 up to 25 years now to a rookie, quarterback that has, 1, 2, 3, 4 years of experience. And so it kind of hit me reading this book. It's called Made to Stick. Okay. And it's written by Chip and Dan Heath. You may have heard of it, but it's the, why some ideas survive and others don't. So it's the concept of, how can you make ideas sticky? And when I think of it, how can I make my concept sticky, my game plan sticky? How can I make everyone see everything like I want to see it? What are the principles they use? Well, one of the traps that the book opens up with is called the curse of knowledge. And the curse of knowledge is this: the more you know, the farther you get from where everybody else in the room that has no idea what you're talking about. So they do an experiment in the book. They're in a classroom and the guy gets up front, and I don't know if any of the listeners have heard this story or not, but this is kind of what was the aha moment for me. He was banging on the desk. All right. He was knocking on the desk, the rhythm of happy birthday to you. So he was knocking the beats. So, right. We know the song, we can hum it as we tap it, but nobody in the classroom knew it was happy birthday to you. So when you think everybody knows the song that you're tapping, it's really easy to sing it in your head along with them. There's a connection there. Does that make sense? I mean, this song is something I learned as a young kid. But when everybody in the room has no idea that you're tapping or knocking on happy birthday to you, they're lost. And that was like, oh my goodness, this is how my kids probably feel a lot of times. I'm talking about, hey, we're going to read this, progression this way, or they're playing, to Tampa, and we got to watch for that field cap blitz. And I'm knocking on all this information, but they have no idea what the context means. They don't know, hey, this is just happy birthday to you, and so I was like, man, this was like an aha moment for me. And I've got to figure out a way to make sure every year that I can start with these foundational principles of offense and the passing game and the run game and my nomenclature. So my kids aren't those kids in the classroom that have no idea what the instructor is knocking on the desk. It's a simple song, but they don't understand the simple basic notes and principles. So I needed something. So that's what I worked on this offseason. Is I created a card deck. It's called the R4 Pass Deck. Okay. It's a 72 card deck. And all the cards in there are basically every route you can think of, and they're organized into families. So you have, rhythm routes, families, and on the back, right, there's the vertical rhythms, and it has all the rules and the DNA properties of vertical rhythm routes. And you have a QR code. And when you click that QR code, you're going to have a little 2-minute mini clinic pop up on your phone. And I'm going to take you through, right, the principles of the rhythm routes. What are the base rhythm routes? The verticals, right? You got the seam, you got the cross, right? You got the corner, you got the rhythm post. And so anyway, if you guys are listening and you're not seeing the YouTube video, you can't see these, but every card has the route on the front, and then on the back, you have the basic DNA properties of information, the coverages they beat, the point in the timeline they break, and what makes all of these routes in the same family. That's what those little fundamentals your quarterbacks and receivers have to know, that they were losing, through the years as I got farther and farther away with my knowledge base. I'm thinking, well, that's simple. They know that. And then we get in the middle of the season. I'm like, hey, is that a rhythm or a read route? My quarterback's somebody like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, have I really come this far, Dustin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
It
was funny because like, I think first off, man, I love having you on every time because it just gets my brain juices flowing, man. It just like you always just have something that I have never thought about. And, it immediately makes me start thinking over here, like, all right, what can I do each year to measure where that kid maybe specifically is at, So we're going to have a rising senior linebacker coming back, but we have a couple rising juniors who played JV. So it's like, how can we measure that? And I think what you've found is with the R4, you have a way to measure it with the deck and how to instill that. But man, I think it's genius. And I think the biggest thing is we talk about how the best coaches are teachers, and the best teachers find a way for interaction with their students. And it's one thing to hop up on the board and draw something and you got it. But I mean, to have things right in front of you, like the past game deck. But yeah, coach, I mean, just having a way to measure, where the kids are each year. Cause like you said, we all have been guilty of going past like, oh, they know what this is. And I mean, the other day in the playoffs, we're telling a JV kid that came up, son, scoot closer in, it's tight. And he starts moving towards the ball, and it's like, we got to go back to football 101, the difference in move up, move back, move in, move out. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So, coach, if you had to like think about quarterback development, and that's kind of what you specialize in. This is kind of another off the wall question as we get started. But if you had to predict where quarterback development will be, like, let's say 5 years from now, what technology and methodology is going to separate maybe those good programs from the elite ones?
Well, I think VR is a big one that's still yet to really take hold. Um, because and I have a close affinity for this because I'm a partner with Reps VR. I spent actually the fall camp at University of Arkansas in Tennessee, in working with the program and Dutch Franz, the creator of Reps, installing the VR with the quarterbacks in the fall camp there, and that was a unbelievable experience to see the growth and acceleration of those kids in just a few weeks. And I think a lot of coaches are intimidated by it, by the technology, and so I still hadn't really take foot, but I think that's a big one because when you watch quarterback play, I got to consult with a lot of schools this fall. You watch quarterback play regionally across the country. It's a lot of, again, RPO and shots is what you see. The drop back passing game is really a dying breed outside of, air raid teams, that do it, but you don't see a lot of quick game. You don't see a lot of drop back, play action where NFL style where you're having, deep crossers, things like that. A lot of it's just RPOs and pump shots is what I see in our region and what I see in the regions that I, worked with the coaches. And I think quarterbacks get to college and they're behind the game because, college
Mhm.
offenses are running, a lot of that. And so I think that's where the gap is. So, how do we close the gap? Well, I think this pass deck is one thing. I think, passing the football is hard when you don't have the frameworks and the principles um, to teach quarterbacks how to do it. I mean, it takes time and it's an investment. And that's why I wanted to create R4, 20 years ago to help make this simpler because it wasn't simple when I was starting out coaching. No one could tell me what open was, how to teach anticipation, how to tie feet and drops and eyes together. And so that's why R4 was created. And so I wanted to create something like this pass deck where I could give it to my quarterback and say, you don't come back and talk to me until you've mastered what's in here. In the first card in the deck on the back as a QR code, and you scan on your phone, and it takes you through step by step of how to use the deck, the
Mm.
games you can play to learn it. And if they go through every one of the steps, they will have mastered this, and they can come back and they can lay this deck out like a solitaire game and explain to me the reasoning behind every route, why it fits and where it fits in the timeline, how to tie it in with the proper drop.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that's missing, a missing part of the coaching process that really could help coaches have more confidence
Mhm.
in throwing the football from a drop back perspective. I think a lot you don't see it because they don't have the tools to train their quarterbacks, the language, and they don't have the confidence that their kid can do it under pressure. And so
Yep.
that's what the R4 system was built to diffuse.
And it's funny because me and Jamie were just talking the other day. It was off camera. We were talking about how, what coverage has been best for us this year and how it's something I've untraditionally not really ran. And we kind of had the same point you're making. Pass game just isn't what it used to be for whatever reason. And it's like you said, a lot of teams are RPO. They like throwing bubble or now screens, and they like to take the shot. And the R4 has made such an impact on me as a defensive coach, where when we are watching through the concepts with our DBs and linebackers in film before practice, they start getting bored and they're like, really? We're seeing mirrored concepts this week? Like
Mhm.
they have, and they're not as fluent with the R4 terminology of rhythm and read yet, but they're saying to me, so they just have read routes and rush routes on both sides. So, and like they get bored. The DBs will literally start sucking their teeth and get mad because they're like, well, I'm not going to get any action this week. Like nothing's going to be open. So, and that shout out to that. So I don't think the pass game deck is tied to offense. I think defensive coaches learning the rhythm, the read, the different timings. Then when you're watching opponents, okay, they're running mirrored curl flat. There is no rhythm route, so the ball's not going to be thrown before 2.2 seconds on the timeline. So I just think it benefits all the way around for every coach and player.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
It's been, like, I watched obviously a lot of film like everybody else does, but I don't see quick game. I was like, you're right, coach. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why. I feel like it's been, I guess everybody's going away from the air raid because I think that was one of the biggest ways that you could probably throw the ball and have a system kind of in place. And they had a decent, pretty good language model. And you had, you're throwing to grass. But I think now that teams are going to this H back and like two tight ends and like, more of this running style RPO stuff, I think all that stuff's out the window. And what I like about the R4 is that we've always been able to adapt better to our personnel, whether that be two tight ends, one tight end, four open, whatever it may be. And like, no matter what, we feel like we have a language and a model to operate in. And it's been really good. So I'm excited to get my hands on those on your card deck for sure.
Yeah, and me and Jamie, and obviously you, Coach, we've been a lot of different schools. We may not have had the best records or won the most games, but if there's one thing I feel like I could stamp since 2018 when me and Jamie coached together, is everywhere we've been able to throw the football. And there are some places that if we weren't able to throw the football, we wouldn't have won any games because we didn't have the linemen to run the ball. So it was kind of reversed. It was we threw it to open up the run. The framework of the R4 has opened up so much more, in my opinion. And it's like, and I think some people have noticed, like, for example, where Jamie's been, it's like, man, he took a long snapper at one of his schools and created a quarterback his senior year and threw the ball all over people. And there's not enough credit, shout out to Jamie for that. That's a heck of a job. This episode is also sponsored by Team Builder, the #1 strength conditioning software in the game. And listen, if you're still sending PDFs, spreadsheets, or random group texts for workouts, you're losing time, efficiency, and athlete engagement. Team Builder solves all of that. You can build programs, track performance, manage leaderboards, and communicate with all your athletes in one place. The app is clean, it's fast, and it's built specifically for coaches. It's used by thousands of high school programs, top colleges, and pro teams for a reason. It makes your entire operation smoother. If you want better accountability, tracking, and results, go to teambuilder.com and start your free trial. It's the best investment you can make in your program's development. Use the promo code CoachSpeak for a free 30-day trial.
Yeah, guys. So, talking about your card deck, what else, Coach, are you have you developed that can really help the evolution of R4 kind of from help coaches from like a read and react to this modern processing?
Yeah. So the other issue that I had and I found as a coach is how can I quickly distill the information that the quarterbacks need to know in the off season, in spring ball, and in season. That's really the three phases. So in the off season approach, we always teach defense. And so typically that's, cut ups of different coverages, fronts. We have a quarterback school, and I just feel like my quarterbacks sitting and watching film and me just going over film. Hey, what is this? Wasn't the best. I've tried, writing on a board and they get up and write a board. It takes forever to draw lines. They can't even draw good lines. What's the best way to get them to increase their concept capacity of the game, whether it be defense, whether it be your offensive system? I'm not a minimalist in my offense. And so I need a better way to get them to see the relationships of concepts and how we call it in the language. So again, what's the best way to do that? Well, one of the things that we used to do was poker chips. All right. And so we take poker chips and those would be the players. We put them on a table. We get, quarterback to quarterback across from each other, a quarterback receiver. We'd have tables set up all in the room and they would do poker chips. And we say, okay, show me rip formation and show me, lucky protection with the eagle. And they'd have to, take the position chips and move them around. And it was a really great interactive way to flip the classroom and have a tactical teaching process as opposed to a passive, just sit here and watch film. All right. What I found with that is that, is there a better way? Because what happened is there was no field when we did that. And so teaching splits and alignments was critical for me. Seeing field space was critical for me on a table. And so what I did this offseason, and really it's the second layer. So you have the pass deck. So what I wanted to do is okay, I need a process where I can give my receivers and quarterbacks, hey, all right, here's the pass deck. Take this home and you don't come back and talk to me till you've mastered it. Okay. And they go at their pace. They come back. Okay, coach, we've mastered this. Now what's next? Well, now let's learn football. All right. And so what I wanted was a kind of a way we use those poker chips, but a souped up version. So I did the R4, called it a field command board. Okay. So it's basically a 19 by 29 inch board. that has the halo overlaid on it. And so this field is true to size, the dimensions. And so instead, the poker chips are always really big. So these are smaller, thicker chips that have the player positions on there, and they're color coded by personnel, because that was a big deal for me. Is like, I got to teach my kids different personnel groupings of defense and different personnel groupings of our offense. That tight end, who's our Y in our offense, is going to be a different color than the Y that's a receiver in 10 personnel, right? And so I needed different colors and different letters so they can show the changes of the personnel, and the kids that play those positions understand. And so this field command board, there's 15 offensive chips of different personnel groupings, 15 defensive. And this field is true to form. So from the left hash, everything's spaced out. You have all the hard deck, the vertical tubes. And we used this with a couple schools this year, and they absolutely raved about how fast they can install their game plan, and the coach having confidence that his quarterbacks and receivers understood the checks and the leverage positions, because they could tactically use it right in front of them. And the quarterbacks learned faster because they were teaching. You learn by teaching. I mean, Dustin, Jamie, you know that. I mean, I was a horrible teacher until I actually started to have to, teaching the information until I actually taught it. And I was way better at learning the subject matter in the classroom when I actually taught it than I having to study it at school. So again, I think these two tools, man, are going to really help a lot of people. And the schools that use it this year shredded people with it.
I think I'm going to buy one for my quarterback.
I was going to say, my
give
wife
it to his mom and have it under the tree for Christmas.
My wife don't know it yet, but that's going to be our holiday game. Say, all right, you're going to learn some football.
Right.
You're show me an even front.
Exactly. Exactly. I want you to physically touch the pieces, and you talk me through it. And now as a coach, it's guided self-discovery. We're just there for support. Yep. And you can the school that we practice with use this as a model for our test market, would have 4 or 5 boards set up in the classroom, and have 2 or 3 kids at each board, and the coach just walks around, just kind of proctors, hey, has the play call sheet. Okay, all right, guys, first, third, and 5 this week is going to be jazz right, 18, cheeseburger, whatever you call it, right? And so the kids would have to go through and talk through progression, protection, and the energy in the room was amazing, right? It's a lot better than just sitting there and the kid's falling asleep or on his phone looking at his TikTok, in the film room. And so I think this was a much more efficient way to test your players, instead of having to create just a test on a sheet of paper. A lot of people use Google Classroom, things like that, and also install the game plan. And coaches just said, I've never felt more confident going to a game after using this board throughout the week than I have in all my years of coaching, because my kids, I knew they knew what we were doing.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I was going to talk about go ahead, Dustin, but I was going to talk about some strategies. Things are popping in my head of how we can use it.
That's literally what I was
so let's talk about that, Jamie. So one of the things, and again, it's hard if you just listen to this, but one of the things, there's the back, there's some different ways we play. One of the things we do, and I made videos. So there's a QR code on the board. You can scan that, and it has a playlist of different ideas that we've come up with, and we can add to that as we go. And the same with the pass deck. So when you get the pass deck, you're going to be taken to this main video board on your phone, and you just scroll through. It has different games, ideas that are broken down in about 2-minute videos. One of the things that we did was we had 3 quarterbacks up on a board. One was the quarterback behind the offense. The other 2 were behind on defense. And so we would call it, say, Y cross. Okay, just whatever. And it was against cover 2, right? And so the quarterback's, rhythm side, he's going to that fade out first into the boundary, right? Okay. So he would take his fingers with the fade and the out and say, okay, that's my rhythm. And then the quarterback on the other side would take the defenders and cap the 2 routes. And so you take the corner and either collision the fade, or have the corner take the flat and have the safety come over and take the fade. And then the quarterback would then say, okay, now I'm going to go to the read route. And he would do the cross. He goes, that's my read. And then the next quarterback on the other side that's a defender would take the mic and have him drop and take it away, so they could just see, okay, here's the different ways that this defense in cover 2 will cap this out. So here's where I'm looking first. This is kind of what the capped movement would look like. and then here's where I'm going next. And it was something that we just kind of fell into, but I thought, man, this is so cool. The kids kind of did it themselves, and they're just moving the pieces in the progression order, both offense and defense in sequence. It was amazing. And so I think that was a pretty cool way. And you could reverse engineer that if you're a defensive guy, Dustin. You could have, okay, here's Y cross. Now you're the safety in the corner, like take this out, cap this out into cover 2.
Yep.
And
really
so I think,
good for like match coverages for,
yes.
Like we're going to move this one receiver and tell me how you're going to react immediately based off of him on the timeline. And, I was just thinking like from an offensive standpoint, all right, hey, give me trips right. Give me what the rhythm shell look is pre-snap. What are we going to see this week? All right, what is now I want you to move the post-snap movement of what they do on what is their rhythm coverage. And you make them do it. And then, okay, what is their read coverage? Because now there ain't no faking it. Like he understands it's 3 week, and he understands the read is 2 to the boundary, 4 match to the field, and then like you said, defensively, I love it because I would look at my mic and say, hey, look in the 10 and grab the personnel they run the most. Like now he has to understand, am I grabbing 4 wide receiver chips? Am I grabbing a tight end chip? Like, man,
I was thinking about like, all right, you got your concept. All right, you're going to run, let's say it's boundary flood. You got your fade out. Go ahead and put the guys where they would be on rhythm timing. And then that, I guess before that, really you need to have it overlaid with like, what is the post-snap adjustment of the defense based on their rhythm coverage? And okay, and I was even thinking about, using a new product that you're going to create now is the R4 flashlight. And then that's the vision of the quarterback. Or like you could say, all right, on rhythm, shine your freaking flashlight through the space. Don't where should your eyes be on rhythm here? And then now based on this coverage or this anticipated coverage, who are going to be the key defenders or the players in that coverage that could potentially take that space away? Or the route side space. And then, okay, if we're there, now we're working back. And I just think those are little things that, you could probably use, the whole season to get coaches' ideas on how to best use this too.
Well, it's like you want to teach an offensive lineman how to block a run scheme up to every front. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're going over 20 personnel power today. And I'm going to sit across from you and I'm going to give you every front. And I need you to see work play side back. How are we blocking it? Yeah. What are the calls? What are the rules?
I'm literally going to ask our head coach to buy one for each player on varsity. And they're not going to, and we're going to do football, our whole school football 101, and everybody's going to have it on their desk.
No, I would love it. Right. It'd be great.
That's what we're going to do. Like we're doing it.
It'd be great. I think because that's what I think was the magic. What we saw in the test pilots that we did was when you had 4 or 5 boards going. You had your quarterback coaches, receiver coach, and in the room, and everybody's walking around and just It's a whole different environment than I was ever used to being in a film room.
It. I'm excited, man.
And I think you start in the off season. I think you start in the off season and you have your if you're on offense, you're teaching defense, and defenses are teaching offense, right? And you start there, and then your spring install,
or have a class set. Like you get a percentage off. Use our freaking promo code. Like,
I was gonna say, Jamie, tell our head coach to use the promo code Coach Speed.
Yeah, I mean, have a class set.
We do take POs, so you
there you go. Little plug in there.
We can get you hooked up with the PO. There are a limited number though this first batch because the tariffs and we need proof of concept first, and I wouldn't get it's pretty expensive.
Is it out? Is it released yet?
We're actually, when this is out, it will be released. I'm actually releasing this Thursday, and so want to get it there for a Christmas holiday, and so we've got, they're sitting in my garage. I got a ton of boxes that need to be shipped out, so would love those all to be gone by Christmas.
No doubt.
We'll probably help you out with that.
Yeah, so. We're definitely going to help you out.
No, I'm excited about that.
Well, I remember, I originally got the poker chip idea from you, and I had 2 sets of poker chips. And man, I remember I moved like 3 times and I was carrying those things and they're so heavy. So I donated those to Cannon. When I left Cannon, I just left them in the coach's office. So Cannon, re-up, get you some new boards so you can let them poker chips go away. But nah, man, I'm excited. I think And the best part is, that you can use them on really all sides of the ball. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a way you could incorporate special teams and alignment and aiming points. And, but man, like just the fact that like Jamie and his quarterback can go use it and immediately I can grab it and me and the Mike linebacker use it. That is it's one of those things. It's not just specific, like, oh man, we got to buy something just for the quarterback. No, man, every position group can benefit from this. And we're going to get
I was
some.
thinking like play a clip of whatever and then turn it off. And now they have to make the post snap adjustments on the defense. Like I'm just thinking about all these little things, but I guess before we go down that rabbit hole, and I really want to think about like, what are your thoughts, Coach Maddox, on like the best way now that we're in the off season? Like, well, some of us are in the off season, guess some of us are still playing, but what do we really need to do as coaches, like starting now through next season? Like how do we get started with R4? Where would you say start for our listeners?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is my credit. You start with the pass deck.
Okay.
I mean, this is like, the headset to helmet book, the OG original, right?
Mhm.
Like this is that book in a box. And it teaches it to you way faster, and it shows you have mastery and you understand the relationships. I mean, so like that's another reason why I created this pass deck is I wanted to be able to just like, where do I start? Like right here, like everything, all the principles of R4 are contained in this box, in these rules. So that's where I would start. After that, I would go with the master class. The master class is every digital resource that we've ever created in class in concept is in the master class. It's probably the best thing you can buy as a coach. And like you said, Jamie, Dusty, it can be applied. You can reverse engineers for defense. I mean, it makes you a better defensive coach. Because it shows you how offensive principles are categorized. It shows you the relationships and rules. And once you know rules and relationships of offense, you know how to break them. And so I think that's where I would begin with those two products there.
Yeah. And I agree. So if there's defensive guys out here listening to this, we have a good buddy. He's been on here, Zeb Ritchie. He's an R4 guy. He uses it to game plan. We actually played against each other this year, and he's called defense. And I actually think he was studying R4 when he was a defensive coach. And then when he switched over to offensive coordinator, I think it just went full circle for him. And it's so funny. The thing I love about the R4 is I can call Spencer, I can call Zeb, I can call Jamie, I can call Caleb, and we can speak in the same terminology and know exactly what each other is saying immediately. And it's not like, oh, we're a part of this special club that only we speak this language. No, it's the fact of, man, Spencer saying we saw this route, and man, he looked at it on rhythm timing. And man, it was collision. So he moved, he hitched up, and he looked to the read route. And dude, the way that the safety played it, we threw a bomb for a touchdown. It's just, and that's how we talk. Like when me and Jamie talk, like, hey, what concept they run? Well, they run snag like this. Well, how are they reading it? Well, they're rhythming the snag, they're reading the corner, and they're rushing the back. And Jamie looks at me, I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't be a completion. Like we should be okay. So, but it's I just love the common terminology.
Yes, it's streamlined. And just to speak on that a little bit, I saw a video of I think it was a quarterback trainer putting out a video, and look, he's doing a really good job of like trying to break down like what the quarterback should do pre-snap, and it was like 8 different things, and it's like how to scan, looking at, and all of it's kind of right, all of it's pretty truthful. But what I like about learning through the master class that we did a long time ago now is that it streamlined everything into a common language that, I mean, things have to happen at like a split second. You don't have time to, depth, eyes, alignment, coverage, and who's doing this and key defenders that. And like, you just don't have time for all that. And I think that's what happens with quarterbacks now is it's so much easier just to RPO, throw screens and throw bombs than it is to, I got to, because of the way you have to coach it. I don't think it's that hard to do. I've done it with multiple quarterbacks now at different levels. But but I think what helps me do that each year is just having that same language, and I get better at teaching it every year. All right, guys, today's episode is brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sports, the industry leader in flexible bar training. Look, if you're building explosive athletes, there's nothing that trains bar speed, stability, and power quite like Tsunami Bar. It changes the intent of every rep. Your athletes move faster, stabilize, and recruit more muscle fibers without crushing their joints. We use it because it works, period. It becomes a must-have in high school, college, and pro weight rooms across the country. Whether you're a strength coach or a football coach running your own off-season program, Tsunami Bar gives you a competitive advantage in how your kids develop force and control. Check out the full line of bars, attachments, and training tools at tsunamibarsports.com and tell them that Coach Speak sent you. Unleash bar speed, unlock athlete potential, and train with Tsunami Bar Sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes like I said, curse and knowledge, you get so deep into it, you think that just the idea of being able to structure routes into families based on certain properties that's pretty you think, well, that's simple, like that's a rhythm route, that's a read, that's a rush. What is I had the opportunity last offseason to actually do a Zoom call with a high level Division I offensive coordinator, Big 12. Man, I'm gonna say his name. I don't want, and sat there, and he wanted to hear, he heard about R4, wanted to go over. And so I just taught him the families of routes. Okay. Just basically it was walking him through this deck essentially, right? What makes a route a rhythm route? What are the properties of it? What does that mean for the quarterback? What does that mean for his drop? Real simple, like 101 course in my mind. And so we did a Zoom call, and he was on the free version of Zoom. He sent me the link. So it's like a 40-minute, right? You have 40 minutes for the free, right? Well, we're 40 minutes in, and we're like on the rush routes, and he is like, "Hey, this is getting ready to go. Like, we're just ready to shut off. Like, I'm going to call you right back." And he's like freaking out because he's like, I mean, just eating this up. And I'm like, man, this is like the most basic stuff ever. But it was revolutionary for him because even though he understood some of the concepts, no one had ever tied into a way that is packaged up with a common language and a process where he was so excited to get to his quarterback room to teach his guys this, because now he had a way to translate all these years of information that he had and streamline into a simple way that these guys needed to get up to his level, if that makes sense. And now this he's a coach for the LA Rams. And so, and never heard from him again after that. So that's kind of how it goes. Is I'll do come to this stuff and hey, can you at least give me a plug or a testimonial? And it's like they ghost me after that. So, but hey, that's what we're here for, to help make others better and serve but anyway, it was a reminder to me of if this guy at this level who's brilliant sees the value in the basics of this R4 system, I can't lose sight of that. That's how I mean, I've got, and I got years in my career later where I would just get away from really going deep with the basics of R4. I just kind of gloss over, oh, this is a rhythm route, read, rush. And again, I'm singing happy birthday to you, banging on that desk, and they have no idea what I'm saying. And so again, that's the self-realization I've had, the aha moment. And when I coach again, I'll be a lot better, I think, because I won't miss that. And I definitely won't, because I'm just going to hand him this and say, boom, here.
Yeah,
all right?
start with that. Well, it's funny because, like, I hear a lot of people teach offense where, like, hey, I'm going to give you a 1 high beater on this side and a 2 high beater on this side. What's like, okay, well, what happens if he picks the 2 high beater side and they spin at the snap? Or let's say they don't and he picks the 2 high side. What is he reading? Because is he looking out there and saying, okay, it's 2 high. I know it's going to be 2 or 4. So let's just see what happens. Like that's where, like, to me, I don't understand how anything else other than the R4 makes sense, because of the framework that the R4 has taught me, an offensive lineman who's never thrown a ball ever in my life. And it's like, I'm not saying there other ways are wrong or they're not as good or whatnot, but it's like, I don't understand how you teach it. Well, hey, take the cushion side. Well, what if there's no cushion on either side? Mm-hmm. Like what is our answer there? Like, hey, we're going to run double slants on both sides. Pick the best side that you think we can throw it to. Well, what happens when that side's capped? Like, we can't go back to the other side of slants because it's passed and they're all about to run into each other. So it's like that. I just don't know any other way. And I think there's proof in the pudding. I don't know.
I think, with that, I think there's a place for everything in football. There's no absolutes. I mean, if you're going to do mirrored quick game or quick game combination, I think you got to go tempo. I think you got to tempo it and get it quick, just so you can have some, like, you can't have guys, the defense out there, okay, it's 2 by 2. Let's go 3 over 2 and let's cap everything out or let's move. But so there is, and I think there's a way. I feel like junior high, it's good to have some mirrored routes or whatever, just to teach the concepts. And I think you start there, but I think there's so much, money left on the table that I think we're missing when we don't give quarterbacks, the ability to reset to a better side, that that works in sync with your scan and your read. And that's a big problem, Dustin. The schools that I consulted, I mean, you'll see quarterbacks just getting stuck to a side because they're working mirrored snag on both sides. And he has no outlet and he's getting freaking crushed. And it's sad to see.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I took from the master class and really going through this, the biggest thing for me was, and we've made a lot of plays like on the backside of quick game, on the intermediate tags. And I'm actually speaking in Orlando, and one of my sessions is about that. And I always plug you because a lot of like one of our best concepts this year was double slant to the field. And then we have, post wheel and the back to the boundary. And so a lot of times, like what you're saying, Dustin, yeah, I'm calling it because I think that we're going to get quarters to the field or something like that. And I'm going to bang the slant, or I'm going to bang the fin. But there's a lot of times where they'll rotate, and then man, we're hitting the post for a home run on a quick game call, and everybody's like, "Man, way to dial it up, coach." No, man, this guy's going through a full field progression with proper footwork. He's taking a punch set. It's not there. It's capped. He resets, sets his whole way on the hash, and now he's going post wheel back, and he's reading the post and the wheel and read timing because those are read routes. And then, we've dumped it to the back and had big yards. But that stuff right there is what gets me going about football that I don't see anybody else do. And I didn't invent that. Really kind of you did, coach. And and just the way that we processed that. But it's like, man, you dialed up a post route. No, man. That is just about like it's we're even running like sail to the field and we have the backside, dig and a whip route. It's like, well, if it's, trap, they're playing some sort of 2 read. He's coming off that, off of the entire thing. I used to just tell him, hey, man, you got fade, sail, flat. But if you see it rotated pre-snap, then we're going to work the fade, the dig, and the flat to the boundary. But now I got the quarterback saying on rhythm timing, he's going to be looking through the space of the fade. If he sees corner trap, he's getting his eyes back to the dig right now. Yeah. And so it's just helped us a lot
80-yard, 90-yard touchdown first game on the backside dig on sale
with the sophomore quarterback.
Yeah,
they had to start last minute.
On that note, on that concept, okay, had a lot of time to watch a lot of film, probably more I've ever watched in my life this year, right? You would be shocked at the highest levels of NFL and Division I how many quarterbacks on any flood concept with a sail miss that same scenario Jamie just talked about. Trap corner, hard corner, and the dig wide open is wide open backside every time, and they stay front side. I mean, it's like, that's for me, that's flood rules for my quarterback. Like we run a flood concept and you got a hard corner, like you better be resetting and thinking that backside dig window.
Yep.
And then like our QB, he's hoping they trap.
He's trying to rip.
He wants to rip the dig.
He is trying to rip it, dude.
He
like
is, man.
Brett Favre, like throw it through a guy's face, but he's got confidence in it, and you'll see him come off it early some too. Like he can. It's like what you said. It accelerates every part of his process. Like obviously, I can going through the game plan. Hey man, we're going to call sell. They run some 3-week. They also run some quarters, so we're going to call sell. And he just knows like, hey, I can anticipate this with this particular look because I watched it on film. He'll come off the fade quick. Reset, bang, and he's banging the dig.
And
he had an 80-yarder on the game opener.
He wasn't the starter early on, Dub. So he was the backup. Yeah. So during 7-on-7, he would always come with the defense.
Right.
And I would have to dumb him down or we would not stop. We would not stop a concept during practice because he would take the other team's concept and R4 it. And he's like, he said, hey man, you want me to throw this? I said, no, I don't want you to.
We don't.
He's like, man, really? It's mirrored curl? I said, yes. What's my rhythm route? You don't have one. I said, so just pat your feet and see if one of the curls comes open. And he's like, he said, this is terrible. I'm like, man, just go run the play.
That's awesome. He's a good kid, man. But he's perfect for it. And both of our quarterbacks, I mean, we've done it every single year. We did it since 2018, and that's been great. But yeah, I'm excited about the new products, man. I know he's going to really enjoy them.
Dub, got a question for you personnel wise. I want to pick your thoughts, and then Jamie, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about how consistent your personnel grading has been this year on staff. You talked with me about that a little bit the other day. Share that with Dub. But Dub, if you had to pick a Mike linebacker to go against, that one you would rather see over the other one, would you want the more stronger headhunter A and B gap Mike linebacker, or would you rather a little more leaner, more athletic, fast Mike linebacker? Who's the best personnel matchup for you in terms of
Yeah.
what you want to do?
Well, I mean, being a passing guy, I want the stronger, plugger, and see how well he handles number 3, a fast 3. I mean, that would be where I start. But, if I would had a good tight end and a good running back, I'd take the other one. So it's kind of, I'm trying to match personnel. I mean, so again, it depends on who I got too.
Yep. No, that's a good point. I think, in a perfect world, you have a decent enough sized kid who can handle the A and B gaps, but we run into it all the time. Like some of the coverage we play, he's got to play 3 up and back. Like he's got to be able to take that slot opposite hash, or at least be athletic enough to read run and get out and collision that guy. And we have a guy who I would say is more on the heavier A B gap headhunter guy, but he shocks me sometimes the way he gets out.
Yeah.
And I'll throw the clip in here, but Dub, they ran like a 4-strong concept the other game 2 weeks ago, and he plays it so well. The quarterback about throws a pick to him, and mid play he's clapping at the quarterback, like mid play. Like he said, "Coach, I was going to pick him off. I was waiting for him to throw it." But
That's awesome.
But no. What about you, James?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what Coach said. I mean, for us this year, I would much rather see more of a faster guy at middle linebacker, just so we can run the ball a little better. That's one of the things we're going to have to improve this next season, is being able to be more efficient in the run game. And I think a lot of that's developing young personnel. I mean, all of them are coming back. Basically, we only had 2 seniors on offense, and so we're excited to see those guys, get in the weight room and all that. But yeah, I think they could both be really good. We played one kid at Clover High School years ago, and he was kind of one of those fast kids that just ran everything down. They kind of deepened him up like 6 yards, and they played an odd front, so they kind of protected him a little bit, especially when they went like eagle and bear and stuff. So he was able to run a lot of stuff down.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to grades, with grading accelerators and listeners at home, this is something that we've been doing since 2018, of how we scout our opponents. And this year has been really awesome for me because our staff did a tremendous job of taking. They've been brand new, so we got in May. We had to teach them how to grade accelerators for the defense, and a lot of them watched the modules. And the biggest thing that I've seen, because I usually have to do it all. I was always doing, defensive line, linebackers, DBs, and corners. And I'd have a few coaches help, but we had a full staff that was able to help with every position group. And really, we had 2 coaches for a position group. So one coach would do, the pass game, other coach would do a run game for the linebackers, and we had pass rush and and vertical and horizontal runs with DL. But what I saw this year was really kind of awesome, because our coaches were so excited to do this, because 1, it didn't take them a long time, and 2, it was probably the most accurate that we've ever been in scouting our opponents, to the point where other coaches that weren't on offense, and look, they watch film and not like we do, and they would have comments of like, maybe this kid's really good or maybe he's not very good, but we just stuck to our process, and it was true every single game. We played a few teams, and this past week we played a team that I compared to a previous team we played, and they were like, I don't know about that, and sure enough, dude, it was like the exact same result. It was tough to run on them, and it was tough to protect, and then after it was like, I heard some comments, yeah, those guys are pretty good, and very similar. So I just think that guys that are maybe going through the master class for your offense, I think the biggest piece in your film mastery toolkit can really help coaches take that next step of, all right, now that we have our stuff in place, our kids are in a good place with learning our system and learning football 101. Now let's take it to our assistant coaches, and let's develop these game plans that can put our kids in the best position. Because on the very first module, and I watched this, I don't know, years and years ago, you talk about, there's so many variables and things like that to call a game, and you're just trying to avoid a bad play call. And that's what we're trying to do as offensive coordinators. You only get about 60 or so. Like, if we can eliminate 5 or 6 bad play calls, like not running it into maybe their best freaking defensive end that has a positive, pin grade on reach blocks, like we don't need to do that. And if we can avoid that, then I think that helps us on offense. But yeah, I don't want to ramble too much on that, but it's been very effective for us this year in particular.
And that's what I would ask Jamie every week. Hey man, how they grade out? That's all I cared about, being on the other side of the ball. Hey man, he'd be like, they graded pretty high. There's some dudes up front. And then what's funny is other offensive coaches, like Fowler came up to me one day and said, hey man, what do we do if there's no horizontal runs to grade? I said, run horizontal runs, buddy, because or don't run them, because there's a reason there isn't any. Yeah.
That's funny. That's a good point. No, I think grading accelerators is one of the best things in the system, and I think it allowed me to get the staff unified. And I think that's the biggest problem is, how do we unify and get every, grown adult in the room to see space, time, and talent movement the same, and to be able to speak it the same, and just because, the evaluations we would get before we had a clear procedures it was so abstract and a lot of times so wrong. And then you get into the game and you're getting freaking packed and you're like, what's going on? I have no idea. We can't freaking kick out the freaking 6 technique. Well, we should have seen that on Monday. But yeah, man, I think
and it eliminates ego. It eliminates emotion. It eliminates the passive coach, or maybe they're right. Maybe it's one of those things like, yeah, man, they are, let's say they're bad. Yeah, they're a bad D line, or they're a below average D line. Well, that's, like you said, very abstract. It's very subjective. And then it's like, well, what are they particularly bad at? Maybe they're good at some things and not good at others. And let's do things that they're not good against.
Sure.
So I think that's even something deeper than saying, well, they're good or bad. Well, that's just kind of lazy.
Also, you got to take in consideration if they are bad, who are they bad against? Are they bad against offensive linemen similar to our offensive linemen? Or are they bad against another team that's in the 3rd round right now who have 3 commits to FCS schools? You know what I mean? It's like they might be bad because that cat's 6'4", 320, and he's driving them off the ball. And that was kind of one thing when I was grading accelerators offensively, was I wanted to try to find the teams that were the most similar to us, that maybe didn't have that caliber. And if we did have a really good lineman, it's like, okay, we need to see, how does this guy do against average linemen? Oh, he's getting blocked. It's just like, so.
I think that's the thing about it is you don't need a lot of clips. So you want to find that team that has similar personnel to you, and you also want to find those points in the game where the score is somewhat close.
Yes.
Where they're giving their best effort. And if you can find, so if you find that raw material, you only need a couple of clips to determine, who they are, what their DNA is.
And we'll talk about that as a staff too. Like, we'll have you on the group chat and they're saying, all right, Coach Bolton, what games do you really want us to focus on for, our accelerator grades? Obviously we chart all the film, but so I'll just say, look, let's focus on these 2 games. All right, the most recent one, if they're similar, that's what we're going to work on. But I want you to cross-reference that with maybe these other two games, just to make sure that we are confirming that this is the case, or this isn't a backup, or and just making sure our personnel is right, because we've seen too where they're starting a kid the last 2 weeks, but 3 weeks previous or 2 weeks previous, they got another better player and he might be coming back. So we always want to make sure we see any kind of backups or guys that are coming back from injury too. But it's but when you have a full staff to do all of that, in the meetings are so simple. The meetings are not contentious. They're not like, hey, we got everybody's on the same page. Now we go through every single accelerator grade when we come in. We'll talk, not every grade, but we'll talk about every player, and they'll have a whole packet on them. And so it's pretty good, and our head coach appreciates that too.
Yeah, but yeah, Dub, I'm with you. I'm excited to get the hand on these passing decks and these game boards. And guys, if you're listening, man, and you've kind of been on that, I don't know, should I take that step? You got to invest in things that mean the most to you. You invest in your health, you invest in your family. Well, if this is your career and it's not your hobby, you got to invest in something eventually, or you're just going to kind of be a guy that hangs around and coach. And if you are, that's okay. But I do think, man, like we have talked about this several times. The R4 has changed our coaching scope. It has 100%. Set us out. And I will talk to you about anything R4 except intellectual property. I'm not going to give it out. But if you want to know any questions, like proof in the pudding, that's what we're here for. And we want everybody to understand that.
I appreciate it, Dustin. I mean, I firmly believe in it, and I love hearing these stories. And it was created out of failure, and it was created out of just need that the things that we need as coaches that no one before me is able to explain. and so, and so I was like, there's got to be a better way to make this game of football much simpler, and to give the kids the tools they need to perform at a high level and do the things that people say you can't do. I mean, I think that's what it does. It gives you the framework and the process to do the things they say, well, we can't throw the ball. We don't have Joe Montana back there, right? Well, doesn't matter. Well, we'll figure it out.
That's right. Well, Coach, no matter what the future has for you, man, you got to be proud of what you've been able to develop. You're helping coaches across the country. You're helping players because of that too, with all your camps and things. And we couldn't be more grateful, not only for what you've, you know, allowed us to learn from you, but just, being able to talk to you a few times on the podcast and kind of getting to know you a little bit more. And also partnering with you guys at R4, man, like it's been really good for us. And, man, I'm excited to see what the future has for you.
Yeah, man. I know you guys are. I'm speaking at Glacier this off season. So if any of the listeners out there are in Charlotte, I'll be in Charlotte in March.
Oh, nice.
Would love to hook up and connect out there with whoever is in that area. I'll be in Pittsburgh, and I'll be in Chicago, and San Francisco will be my Glacier circuit. And then we're doing a R4 Tier 1 training camp. We're doing a cognition camp, teaching quarterbacks how to make rapid decisions under pressure, using S2, which is a sports cognition company that trains NFL, Major League Baseball players. They're going to get tested on their cognitive skills, on 5 core cognitive skills. And then we're going to go through drills with VR and field drills during 3 days in Nashville over Christmas break, and doing kind of a unique event there. So if you're in that area and want to stop by over Christmas break, would love to see you there as well, maybe.
Awesome, Coach. Well, we appreciate you being on. Guys, don't forget to use promo code CoachSpeak with our awesome partners. We have Ray Crowther, Team Builder Practice, R4 Football Systems, Pro Quick Draw, Dome Headwear, and Optimum Grading. Also, BSN Coach Speak merch may or may not be available. We might have to reopen it. We got some Christmas sweaters we can put on there too. So, but Coach, it's been great having you on, and hopefully we can speak to you again soon.
Yeah, guys, if you're interested in these products, you can go to r4footballsystem.com. Limited run, but use the Coach Speak discount, get 10% off. Help Dustin and Jamie out for all the work they do, and would love to hear stories back on how it helps you. That would be very, very helpful.
Thanks,
Awesome,
guys. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.